I've got it all figured out. I know exactly how to defeat Germany. How? We attack. Well, yeah, but how are we going to attack? And where? And what tactics are we going to use? How are we going to attack, you ask? With Elan Vital. Wherever those German scum pop up. I suppose we'll start on the left and the right of the Metz and burst into Germany from there. And tactics? Who needs tactics? We're as flexible as cheerleaders and half as tough. No one can defeat us. Sir, you know that's a terrible plan, right? How dare you? It's a plan that holds the military genius of the average 17-year-old. Thus, I shall call it Plan 17. How dare those generals spoil my plan so completely? It was perfect, but those slack-jawed sissies caused it to fall to pieces. If only they had executed it properly, I'd be able to rest my weary feet on my new Kaiser skin rug. Sir, are you sure the plan isn't partly to blame? How dare you show such insolence? That plan was flawless! It was the failure of the commanders that put France into this sticky wicket. But don't you think the lack of coordination between artillery and infantry could have contributed to the failure? What a foolish question! It's much more likely the soldiers weren't fighting with Cran like the plan intended. What about the misestimation of the number of troops the Germans would have? Or the fact that the plan allowed the Germans to enter much too deep into France? You mean those pushover reservists? Don't make me laugh. Just because they outnumbered us and our plan relied nearly entirely on being able to penetrate through the weakened German center does not mean our little misestimation caused the failure of the plan. But I suppose we did let them get a bit too far into France. We'll have to remember that in case we ever get into another war with Germany. This might sound crazy, but I have a plan that will revolutionize Russian military strategy. What is it? Well, do you know we usually just allow mass casualties while simultaneously retreating deeper into our own country, and then let General Winter wreak havoc on the enemy? Of course, Winter is our most respected general. I have two plans of attack. The first is the more mundane. In the case that Germany and Austria-Hungary attack us, we revert to our usual strategy and allow our people to be slaughtered like the slack-jawed lemmings that they are, while simultaneously retreating into our country to allow us time to gather our full force. I call this Plan G. That sounds like a wonderful plan, sir, but what happens if Germany invades France instead of us? I'm glad you ask. In such a case, that is when my brilliant plan comes in. We actually invade Eastern Prussia and try to fight a successful war using Plan 19. My goodness, sir! Are you sure that's wise? Such a strategy is rather bold, don't you think? We need to divert forces from the Western Front, so we must attack immediately and place the German on the defensive within their own borders, so they will be forced to move troops from the west to the east, hopefully giving France the opportunity they need to repel the Germans. How do you plan this supposed attack? We send two armies to perform a pincer attack in the Polish salient to conquer territory as far as the river Vistula. We shall send an additional group of 4 armies to crush the Austro-Hungarian forces. Well, that was unfortunate. I suppose that's why we Russians generally just retreat into Russia. That way, when our soldiers get slaughtered, they're close to home. How did my plan fail? How did this crushing defeat happen so suddenly? Well, sir, it seemed the soldiers had a bit too much skip in their step, and far outpaced the logistical support. That doesn't sound like a problem. What's wrong with a little enthusiasm? It left the soldiers vulnerable because they were both uninformed and unprepared. And while that's not unusual for Russian soldiers, it rarely bodes well for success. So you're telling me Plan 19 fell to pieces because an army was a tad overzealous, leaving them open to German attack? That is the most glaring reason for the failure, but you can look towards several other factors that would have spelled disaster down the road anyways. Such as a lack of guns, bullets, railroads, supply lines, communication, intelligence, competent generals, sober soldiers. Shall I continue? Only if you wish to be hung for treason. Point taken. I suppose the only consolation is that the plan did take some of the pressure off of the Western Front, which was one of our major goals. True. Enough of this war stuff. I'm gonna go drown my inadequacies in vodka. It seems the war is fast approaching, and we must not shun from it. I propose we meet it head-on, and I'm certain that we can be victorious if only we follow my plan. Oh, do tell. Well, as we all know, Russia's about as quick to mobilize as a quadriplegic sloth, and the French army is about as threatening as a newborn. So that all that must be done is to slaughter the French army before Russia has the time to mobilize, and then using our railroads we send a victorious men from the Western Front to the Eastern Front to take on the backwards behemoth. When you put it that way, it does sound quite good, sir. Well done. How do you propose we attack the French? Instead of attacking France with a heavily fortified border, we must go through Belgium, so we may envelop the French army. We shall cross the Franco-Belgian frontier in its entirety, and then descend upon Paris. We shall stack the right wing and leave the left wing weak in order to entice the French troops forward, so the right wing may fold around them. That sounds absolutely perfect. Once France is defeated, there's no way Russia can stop the entirety of the German army. They shall crumble at the feet of the new German world order. Moltke, that blundering fool, how dare he desecrate the plan born of pure genius? Schlieffen? I mean, no disrespect, sir, but haven't you been dead for over a year? Do you really think death could stop a German hell-bent on world domination? I think not. Besides, I need to get to the bottom of this military debacle. How haven't we won yet? Well, you see, Moltke altered your plan a bit before the war, and during the war, for that matter, he moved some troops from the right wing to the center and the left in order to prevent the French from breaking through, and with the loss of troops, the right wing wasn't strong enough to defeat the French in a decisive battle. Exactly what I thought. It wasn't a problem with my plan. It was merely a problem with the execution. Well, not exactly. You see, your plan really didn't adequately account for the Belgians putting up significant resistance and the addition of the British forces as allies of France. Those both caused major setbacks that stalled the plan. Also, your calculation of the Russian mobilization was inaccurate. Because France had been investing heavily in Russia, they were able to build up their railroads. This meant the Russians became a threat much before your plan accounted, causing us to divert some of our troops from the Western Front to the Eastern Front. Sorry, sir, your plan still sounded nice. Very well, you insolent fool. I believe I have learned all that I care to. Goodbye. I'm off to hunt Moltke. France wants to know what our plan for the war is. Tell them we're going to have fun at our little peaceful island, but make sure to wish them the best of luck. Do you really think that's right, sir? We did form an entente with them. Well, that's true, but it's not as if that binds us to support them. Besides, Britain has always been a country that enjoyed the use of its free hand. It isn't a formal alliance, but it's an alliance all the same. Fine, but we need not use our current army as the core of a new, larger army that we must create. I'm afraid if we don't act quickly, it won't matter the strength of our new army. We won't be able to reverse the changes made by the German. Well, then send France 6 divisions. Actually, strike that. Give them 4. Okay, sir. Do we have any other plans for war? Navy. Navy? That isn't a complete thought, and it certainly isn't a military plan. What is when you're British? What happened? Why haven't we won the war yet? Well, General French decided that he could choose to fight whenever and wherever he pleased, and it seemed that he didn't really please at all. Well, meaning that he waited until the absolute last second to fight, leaving France open to German attack. Oh, well, that's not especially good. No, it's not, and our forces were rather insignificant in the grand scheme of things. So even when we entered the battlefield, it wasn't enough to secure victory. On the bright side, your other plan is going swimmingly. Which plan? Navy. Splendid. Just splendid. Perhaps we may win this war yet.